I'm Shain, a New York Jewish mom who had the audacity in 1993 to continue a geriatric pregnancy and give birth at the age of 46.
And I'm Sarah, the result of that pregnancy. 32 years later, I'm currently a practicing therapist. Though Shain is often thought to be my grandmother, she's still my mom, and this is Listen to My Mother,
a podcast where we answer your real-life questions with 2 points of view, one rooted in motherly instinct,
and one rooted in clinical training.
You'll get guidance, support, maybe a little tough love, but always from the heart.
And if you'd like us to answer your question on air, head to the link in our show notes and send it our way. We want to hear any questions you have.
And now it's time to
Listen to My Mother. Good morning.
Good morning. What's with you, babe?
Well, I was working this morning. I had a client, and then I had a consultation with a potential new client that I think might be doing discernment counseling with me, which is not exactly, it's not really couples therapy because you're not like really tracking patterns or getting into like kind of those like deeper, more painful places and learning to, have empathy and understand each other. Like that's not what you're doing in discernment. Discernment, the way I do it is like it's a 3-hour session where we meet all together for the first 30 minutes. And then I meet with one partner for an hour and then the other partner for an hour. And then we come back together at the end for another 30 minutes. And the goal is just to discern what they want to do. There are like 3 possible paths. You can only do discernment counseling, like the max sessions that you should do is 6. Because if you go beyond that, you're just like part of their process of like not knowing what they're doing. And so each session they're like trying to decide like, is today the day that we make a decision and commit to one of the paths? And like there's 3 possible paths you can do. One of them is you make the decision to divorce and just move into separation. The other path is you take divorce off the table for 6 months and commit totally to couples therapy, which then is deeper and goes into those patterns and kind of digs a little bit more into the emotional experience. Or path 3, you just stay with how things are, status quo, and nothing changes. And if you get to like 6 sessions of discernment counseling and still have not chosen a path, you have chosen a path. You've chosen path 3 where nothing changes. So that's why it's recommended that you don't do more than 6, because at that point you're just perpetuating the stuckness that they're already in. So anyway, I've done discernment before, but it's been a long time. I've done it with I think 3 different couples in the past. Been interesting, but now it's been a while, so I need to like do a refresher for this couple to start with me.
What happens to the couple that can't choose 1 or 2?
They end up, they choose 3. By not choosing 1 or 2, they have chosen 3.
But then what are their other options?
That they're not ready to make a decision and they stay stuck in where they are.
Okay. Does that happen a lot in discernment counseling?
There are definitely statistics somewhere like from the discernment counseling like institute or whatever it's called. I know that there are stats because I read their book a while ago and there were, but I don't remember what they are. In my experience, one couple chose to move into divorce. One couple, we did couples therapy, but then that was when I was at my internship. And when I left, they didn't leave with me. They stayed at the internship site. So I'm not sure what happened with them. And one couple just like kind of actively chose to stay on the 3rd path and not change anything and just keep going with their lives the way that they were.
Okay. So I'm thinking back to if your dad and I were put in that situation, we ended up staying. So, which I think was that we chose path 3, even though we didn't do discernment counseling.
But yes, you did. You chose path 3. But I also wonder if you had been in discernment counseling and had someone telling you, like, you actually need to face this and make a decision, I think you probably would have chosen divorce.
Actually, thinking back on our history and how we would have stayed the course. We would have done exactly what we did. I'm sure I told you the story of I was pregnant with you and we were in a very, very bad place. And we were going to a therapist on Madison Avenue. We would schlep from Queens into Manhattan to see this therapist. I think we saw her maybe 3 times. And we would talk about, here I am pregnant and I hate him and he's not very nice to me and he hates me. And we're in this horrible, horrible place. And at one point, something he said, here I am with the belly and he is pissing me off no end. And I just blew up and started screaming at him, fuck you, fuck you. And I was just so pissed and that's where I went. And the therapist went into a panic mode and started literally shaking and saying, oh, no. This is no good. This is not okay because now you have to get a divorce. You must divorce. And she turned to Dad and said, and you're going to pay all the legal fees. You're going to do that. And we looked at her and said, okay. And we finished the session. The two of us left her office, went down to the street. Here we are on Madison Avenue. We look at each other and cracked up laughing. Just cracked up like, what the hell is wrong with her? A little fuck you sent her. She's ending the marriage over
like, look,
fuck you.
We're from Queens. Like, a little fuck you doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm from the Bronx.
Right.
A little fuck you doesn't mean anything. She went into we just laughed. So, which is what tells me that we would have just done what we did. We would have
the course,
just
chosen path 3.
Course. Yeah, I think so.
Because, I don't think you would have chosen to commit to couples therapy and act. I don't think you were ready in your individuals or as a couple.
We tried so many couples therapists.
You should have fast forwarded in life and come to see me.
Well, first we had to have you, let you grow up. We had to stay the course.
I know. And actually, not to toot my own horn, but you actually didn't really start talking to each other until I gave you a book to read. That's
quite true. So maybe you were what saved our marriage ultimately. So. But there was something else I wanted to talk to you about, something that I've just experienced, and it made me think about something else. My sister was visiting for a week, and we don't see each other a lot. She's in Maine. I'm in New York for the most part, or I'm down here, Florida, or I'm in Phoenix. And she's busy. I'm busy. We don't get a lot of opportunity. We talk on the phone occasionally, catch up a little. She pushes more to get off the phone than I do because she's got places to go, people to see. When I call her, it's because I have nothing to do at that moment. So I intrude in her life. But when she's here, we're together. We just hang out and we do a little food shopping and I cook and we eat and we talk and whatever it is. So I had texted you, and I'm looking for that text so I get it right. I'm just going to read my text because I want to take myself back to what I was thinking at that moment because I brought my sister to the airport to go home. And I texted this to you yesterday after she left. I was thinking with my sister leaving, that you had a childhood filled with people leaving you. You had a very hard time when your sister or brother were visiting and then leaving after a few days. Dad came on Thursdays and then left again on Tuesdays for a number of years. I can't imagine that didn't have an impact, but you don't seem to manifest any symptoms.
Do you want to read the rest of the conversation?
Your answer to me, your response to me was, I absolutely do have abandonment issues. It comes up in therapy a lot. So it didn't surprise me, but as I said, I haven't seen manifestations of you having abandonment issues since you abandon us all the time. You go off to Europe, you go off to Asia, you found it very easy to leave.
Not
Was that
originally.
No, but that was a one-time.
What are you talking about? I went away to sleepaway camp for 8 summers. I was away for a month every summer, and I cried every single summer. I went to boarding school for high school. I didn't stop crying from homesickness until my senior year. I do not remember dropping me off at the airport when I studied abroad to go to Australia, and I'm like sobbing in the airport about to get on my plane to Sydney. Like it wasn't always easy for me to just go.
But you went.
Well, at camp, you wouldn't bring me home.
But you didn't want to come home.
Those first 2 years, I desperately wanted to come
Well,
home.
the first year you wanted, but not really. And I have proof of that.
The first year, my homesickness was so bad that they assigned a social worker to me to take me on walks every night.
Yes, I remember that. But when we came on visitors, this told me mountains, because I'm the hard-ass parent and your father is the whatever you want, sweetheart, we do it. And we came on visiting day, and you did not go to Dad to say, take me home, take me home, take me home, because he would have packed you up and just taken you home. You came to me and said, I need to go home. And I said, you only have a couple of weeks left.
1 week. By the time visiting day happened, it was only 1 week left of camp.
Right. You've survived this. Look how you're doing it. You're doing it. Stay and finish it out. If you really wanted to come home, you would have gone to Dad.
I have no memory of this, but I also know, first of all, let me just say, like, I do think that year I probably should have been brought home. 8 years old was very young to be sent away for a month. But in the long run, like, if I had gone home that summer, I never would have gone back. And I'm glad I kept going back. Like, that camp was such an important part of my life during those years. So I think it worked out for the best in the long run. However, I don't think that me going to you was some subconscious, I actually want to stay. I think my whole life I have gone to you and you've never said the right thing, which, like, has been, we've talked about this, like, this has been a trend into adulthood where I have this inclination always, like, I need my mom. And I don't know when I'll learn, because every single time I go to you, you say the wrong thing.
It's my gift.
It has gotten better. Like, the more that we've talked about it, like, with me as an adult, where I'm able to articulate, like, why that's not helpful, it's definitely gotten better. But I don't know that that was me subconsciously not wanting to leave camp. I think that was just part of this pattern of always feeling like I wanted my mom and not feeling like I'm getting the answer that I needed.
That's what I'm saying. If you wanted a different answer, you would have gone to your dad.
But I was 8 years old. I didn't know yet that was the pattern.
Yes, you did.
I think you're giving me way more credit than I deserve.
You watched your siblings, especially Mara, growing up and knowing exactly which parent to go to depending upon what the need was.
Right, but I think that you're putting this, which is like a survival need, into a box of like I want to go to the movies want, right? Like, when I wanted something and I was like, well, my mom's definitely going to say no, so I have to ask Dad, who's the fun parent, right? Like, that for sure. But in, like, emotional need, it was just like, I need my mom. It wasn't, who do I manipulate to get what I want?
Well, I don't know what to say to that, except I'll stick by my own story.
Okay.
You stick by you.
All right, that's fine. But, right, so anyway, just going back, because you were saying that, like, I've always been able to just, like, leave, but I haven't always been able to just leave on my own.
But you have left. You've gone. When you graduated from high school,
Mm-hmm.
a good friend of yours from high school was Brazilian.
Mm-hmm.
She invited you to Brazil. This is the year after you graduated high school. She invited you to Brazil, and we said fine. Though I wasn't so fine, but we said fine. We had to go to the Brazilian embassy. We had to get you a visa. We had to go. It's appropriate. You have to bring a gift for the father. That's one thing. The gift for the mother, that has something else. The gift for each of the children. A gift. And I'm not a gift shopper.
I remember we were running all over Manhattan that day because we had to go to the Brazilian embassy because to get a visa to visit Brazil, at least at that time, that's 2011, was really hard. I don't know what it is now, but we went to Dylan's candy shop to get the gifts for the kids. And I had never been to Dylan's before in my life, but we went there to get the gifts for the kids, and we got a bottle of wine for the dad.
Yeah. We got a bottle of scotch. It was some kind of whiskey.
Which is like funny because I was like an 18-year-old flying by myself in the United States with liquor in my bag.
We had a beautiful scarf for the mom.
Yeah.
We did stuff that I don't normally do. The reason you're remembering wine is I needed to find a box.
We put it in the wine box?
To put the liquor. And the only thing we were able to get was a box that had a moose head. Do you remember that?
No.
Like a deer or a moose head on it. So I said to you, just tell him it's American. It makes no sense.
Anyway, what's your point of bringing up Brazil?
Because we went to the airport. You were 18 years old. We went to the airport. We checked you in. You were flying into Sao Paulo, where they had, we were told all the signs are in Portuguese and nothing in English. And you had to change flights, and you arrived in the south. You had to fly to the north. I was a nervous pain in the butt. We went to the woman who was checking you in at the counter, and I said, I know she's not an unaccompanied minor. I know she's 18 years old, but is there any way that we can escort her to the gate? And she said, oh, let me see. I said, it's not for her. She couldn't kill us. It's for me. I need to see that she's okay again. And the woman gave us a pass to go take you.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So you were fine. I wasn't fine, but you were fine. You're going off to Brazil and
right, but that wasn't the same, I don't think. Like, that was vacation. When I moved to Australia, I had a very hard time. Every year when I had to get dropped off at Emma, I went to Emma Willard School for high school, for context. When you would drop me off at Emma, like, it wasn't until my senior year that I was like, I had zero homesickness because by senior year, Emma was home. But then I left and had a very hard time.
Well, when we took you for your freshman year, the deal was the school could not be more than 2.5 hours away.
Right.
Because I was willing on Fridays, I'll drive 2.5 hours. I'll pick you up. I'll drive 2.5 hours home. I could do 5 hours. No problem. Sunday, we repeat it. We go up 2.5 hours, drop you off, come home. We did that for the first year. We were up and back all the time.
No, I was taking the bus into Kingston. You weren't
not
always
yet. Not yet. Not your freshman year. I was up and back and up and back. And then when I missed you, I would drive up and have lunch with you and then drive home during the middle of the week. You know, it was in your sophomore year that we came up less often. We maybe came up once a month, bring you home, go back. I don't remember the exact timing. I think it was more in your junior year that you started taking the bus to Kingston. Occasionally, you would meet up with somebody we knew in Albany who was driving home. He was working in Albany but living near us, and he would pick you. You would get driven to his office.
And Dad would pick me up at his office. I remember that.
And he would drive you into our county, and we would get you from him. So, but it wasn't till really you kept coming home, just less and less often, but you did come home. In your senior year, I don't think we saw you.
I know.
Until graduation.
Yeah. Well, by senior year, Emma was home. Like, that's where I wanted to be. But then freshman year of college, you guys brought me to my dorm, dropped me on the curb. We're like, we got to get back to New York. We have an Elton John concert. Bye.
You've been living away from home already, right? But like, so like years.
From your experience, like from your perspective, this was the same thing. You just dropped me off at school. from my perspective, I'm being dropped off somewhere brand new where I know no one. And now I've just been left.
Well,
For
look
Elton
how
John. For Elton John. This is like, I love Elton John, but I'll always like have a little bit of resentment against Elton John.
so I don't see, it's not obvious to me that you manifest abandonment as, you seem to kind of, is that on purpose on your part, or is it just slide into looking okay when you might not be okay?
Well, it probably doesn't show up in parts of my life that you see. Like, I see it the most in my romantic relationships, where I have, like, a very anxious attachment style, where it's like if I feel someone pulling away, I grab harder and I chase more and I hunt them down, and it's, like, very, like, dogged and not maybe the healthiest. But, like, that's where that, like, abandonment issue thing shows up. Do you remember years ago, you asked me about abandonment stuff. This would have been in like 2016 when I was dating someone who, instead of breaking up with me, left the country and
Yes.
basically like abandoned me. And you had asked me at that point about abandonment issues, and I don't know that I had the awareness that I have now about it, but that definitely like affected me deeply because there was already like seeds planted around abandonment. But I do think that a lot of things now in my attachment and like fear of abandonment stems more directly from that relationship. But I don't think that that relationship and that abandonment could have affected me so much if there wasn't already seeds planted about abandonment from childhood. Which like is interesting, like you bring it up because like yeah, my siblings didn't live with us. They would come and visit and leave, and it was always hard when people would leave, and dad didn't live with us full time. He was leaving every week. Like if you're going to look at kind of like attachment theory and attachment styles, anxious attachment often comes from like unpredictable, not really unpredictable, but like predictable unpredictability in childhood, that like my support system was constantly like fluctuating, like who was available to me, who was home, who wasn't, being told like this person is available to you, this person loves you, you can always call this person, then calling them and them rushing me off the phone. That's like Mara and David. Or like dad only being with us 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week, whatever it was, like, and then always leaving. That reliability and consistency didn't exist. It was like consistently inconsistent.
Right, but I was always there. Was that more scary than it was,
I know, and
supportive?
we've talked about this before, and we have different memories. I think we just had very different experiences of that time. Like, I don't remember. I mean, I know you were there. I lived with you, but I don't remember interacting with you very much.
We would sit on the floor and do puzzles. We would be in the kitchen and bang our trays together
I
and make
remember the
noise and
trays. Yeah.
dance,
Yes.
and we had we would go in the car and just drive around, and I taught you how to read when you were a little girl, when you weren't driving, but how to read the yellow signs. What does that mean?
Well, we
You
had that
know,
game in the car where like it was like a travel bingo sort of thing, but you like covered the signs you saw. So I like learned what all the signs meant when I remember that. But like that was like when we were on long drives, like, well, again, I was young. I was like 3 to 7 was the age range when dad wasn't living with us. So I was young. And every drive, like, we could have been going in 20 minutes into Monticello, and it felt like the longest drive ever. Like, going to Monticello and going to Fort Lee were the same length of drive for me. So, which, like, for the listener, it was like 20 minutes versus 2.5 hours. But, like, from age 3 to 7, like, time exists differently than it does for an adult. Like, those times we spent together in the car, like, felt utilitarian. Like, we were going to Fort Lee to see dad. That wasn't like home. That wasn't home time. And I do remember the trays, and I remember doing some puzzles upstairs. But I also, like, most of my childhood, I remember being alone and playing by myself.
yeah, I had to search. We lived in a very big house,
Mm-hmm.
and I would realize I didn't know where you were. because you disappeared. And I have a road on one side of the house. There's a lake on the other side of the house. I don't know where the hell you are. And I'm searching the whole house. I'm running around like a crazy person trying to find you. I'm screaming your name. And nothing. I don't know where you are. And I guess that was a game. But then you told me as an adult that you would do that on purpose. You would go in your closet and hide while I was screaming for you all over the house.
That wasn't at that age. I would go in my closet and hide and not answer you on purpose when I was like a preteen and like just didn't want to talk to you and didn't want you to find me. And I would lay on my closet floor.
I
and
was
close
not
doors.
that concerned when you were a preteen. It was when you were younger.
Right, but
you would go to the
like,
road, go to the lake, go.
But when you would come looking for me when I was a preteen, it was like usually because I was in trouble for something, so I would hide in the closet and not answer you. But as a kid, I don't remember purposefully not answering from like in that age range when like dad was leaving all the time. Like if that's the period of time we're focusing on, I don't remember purposefully not. But I was probably in Karen's apartment a lot. We had a live-in housekeeper who was also kind of like a nanny sometimes, and I would hang out in her apartment a lot after school. But I also I have so many memories of just being alone in my bedroom playing by myself.
You were an only child.
With siblings. I know. I was talking to someone about this recently, that, when you study family therapy, there is a lot of emphasis and a lot of patterning that you can see based on birth order. And our family is very interesting when you look at birth order because Mara is consistently the oldest child, and she is consistently to a T what you would expect to see from a firstborn. David is interesting because he was the baby for 18 years and then became a middle child. And he has distinct behaviors from being a baby that was pushed into middle child syndrome as an adult, which is interesting. And then I have both characteristics of the baby, very spoiled, and an only child, very independent. And it's an interesting combination. So it's our family is interesting in all generations because dad also has the responsibilities of a firstborn, but he wasn't the first pregnancy, so he doesn't have the respect of the firstborn, which is interesting.
He was pushed into a role that he really, wasn't born into.
For context, Grandma had a late-term miscarriage before he was born. So in terms of the children that they have and love, he was not the first baby because they lost the first baby. But as the first actually born, he was given the responsibility of a firstborn without the care, respect, and because firstborns are coddled. Mara was the way that dad attached to Mara and the way that anyone attaches to their firstborn. Typically, dad didn't have that despite being the firstborn. So it was an interesting.
But a lot of it has to do in our family. I don't know how it is broadly, but in our family, when I was pregnant with that first child, dad wanted a boy. The way it was supposed to work, because that's how his family was, it was mandated almost. It had to be a boy and then a girl, just like his family. For my mom, who was the one who had the most to say about it, it had to be a boy because she valued boys and didn't value girls. So it had to be a boy. So while I was pregnant, I wanted desperately my hope, please make it a girl. Take all the pressure off my first child. If it's a boy, he will have to perform. He will have to be, something above just being my kid. There's going to be so many expectations on this boy by both my mother and my husband, by this baby's father and grandmother. I wished I didn't pray. I just hoped it would be a girl. And when it was a girl, I was so relieved. But two things happened. My mother was disappointed, terribly disappointed. And didn't manifest great interest in her granddaughter. But what I had hoped was your father, when it was a girl and he had no expectations of what this child should then have to be, it was so simple. All he had to do was love her. And that's what it was. He loved her so completely. She became everything to him without the expectation that she had to be anything. She could be whatever she was. She ended up being super bright, super capable, smart. She ended up being a very, very broadly accomplished young woman. And felt tremendous love from her father, which created a weird rivalry between me and her. It was, as much as I wanted her to be a girl, so her father would be okay, and not make my kid crazy. It set up a situation where I wasn't okay. Your father would walk through the door at the end of the day, come home. I would meet him at the door. He would literally push me out of the way to get to the baby. He wouldn't listen to a word I said about her needs. She just ate. Don't throw her in the air. He would throw her in the air and catch her and play with her and then hand her off to me, and she would vomit on me. I mean, it was part of what set us up to be. I mean, we weren't okay. This just manifested it even more.
There's an interesting subplot here too of the sexism that's
oh yeah,
rampant also for generations of our family.
In both families. Grandpa, your dad's dad, did not value women at all. To him, women were, you needed them. You had to have women to have male children. You needed the woman for something, but not to be valued at all. And until, as far as I could tell, he met my mother. And he was super, super, super impressed with her strength, what she had lived through, who she was, what she was able to accomplish in her current life at the time. He really respected her tremendously. And I think because of my relationship with my mother, that there was the understanding that I was a strong woman as well. And he would respect my opinion. Or ask my opinion. Let's back up and not say necessarily respect it, but he would ask my opinion, but he would not ask his wife or his daughter. He didn't always accept what I said, but he always asked and wanted to know and gave me an opportunity to express what I was feeling or whatever. He and I came to headbutting a couple of times, and I was able to shut him down. Where everyone else was like, oh my God, she said that to him? Yeah, I could say that to him. And he could stop. But he really did not hold women in high regard, except for my mother, really.
Which is also interesting because your mother held herself in high regard, but not other women. Like when Hillary Clinton was running for president, she was like, a woman can't be president.
Well, she said not. She belongs in the kitchen. What the hell is she doing? Get her out of there. It was awful. It was just awful. She blew me away, and I could see it in other ways. She did not highly regard women. So there I have my daughters. I have my girls, and I want to raise them to be strong women. But I was not being raised to be a strong woman. The only way I found my strength was in battling my mother. So, and I lost 99% of the time, but I found that I could fight.
Yeah.
Even if I lost, I continued to fight, except when I didn't. There was a period in my life where I lost it, where I totally lost connection to myself and my strength and had to rebuild it decades later. And your birth was part of that, actually.
What was like the catalyst to losing your strength and your voice?
You talk about abandonment, right, as being a large issue for you. Abandonment wasn't really my issue. It was more about invisibility, about not being seen, not being heard. I had to constantly fight and work in hopes of being seen and to be seen by my mother. And in my marriage, the same thing happened. I remember at our wedding, people, in those days, it was 1970, there was a guy who went around with a microphone interviewing people. And we actually have a long playing record, an LP, a large platter, a record of people being interviewed at the wedding. And when my brother was interviewed, he said, "Oh, Larry's going to have his hands full with her. She's, whatever." Well, it wasn't that long into our marriage that was not the case. I became pregnant with your sister, and I felt vulnerable being pregnant. And it was during that pregnancy that I started to disappear. It was a time when there was a big snowstorm and I had to drive. I was working at that point at the factory with your dad. Big snowstorm. The car, I was talked into a car I didn't want. What I wanted for my vehicle was disregarded. No, we're getting this. Boom. He's the one who had the money. So we're getting this. We got that. This car always smelled like gas to me. And it did not hug the road well. It was terrible in snow and ice. We lived in Queens. The factory was in the Bronx. I was pregnant. I had this big belly. And I called. Dad had already gone to work. And I was afraid to get in the car and drive up there. And I called up and I said, "I'm not coming to work because I'm afraid of taking this car." And I was told, "Stop pampering yourself. Get up here." I was pregnant and I had a shitty car. And you know what I did? Of course I went. I was told to go. I went. I felt very unprotected, very untaken care of, don't you see that I'm frightened? I'm allowed to be frightened of getting into this car. I'm afraid of hurting this baby. I'm afraid. And there were many incidents like that. It was during the pregnancy with your sister that I lost myself. Giving birth to her, there was trauma in giving birth to her. There was trauma in having her. There was a difficult bonding with her. It was a mess for a lot of reasons. And I felt small and insignificant, and I'm the one taking care of this baby. And I read all the books, and I had a sense of living with this child. And Dad would come home and do just the opposite of everything I set up. And I don't know if it was on purpose just to not do what I say, or it's just what he wanted, so it didn't matter what I said. I have no idea what his motivation was. I just know it destroyed me. My sister even made a comment to me many years later. "I saw you disappearing, and I didn't know what to do."
How did you find your way back?
You were born.
I did everything. I saved your marriage.
When I gave birth to you, well, actually, let me back that up. When David was born, there was another traumatic birth, but I had to survive that traumatic birth, and it gave me something of myself back, a little bit back. It gave me a recognition that I can be strong, but I didn't know how to manifest it and make that grow. But there was an inkling that that there's more to me than what I've become. But it went on like that for years. But at that point, then Dad and I were more fighting. We fought,
Mhm.
we fought because I learned that I could fight. I couldn't win,
Mhm.
but I could fight. Same thing with my mother. I couldn't win, but I could fight. I found I could fight again.
Mhm.
It wasn't until you were born that I found not only could I fight, but I could tell the powers around me to get the fuck away.
Mhm.
If you're not going to be supportive, if you're not going to be helpful, if you're not going to do what I need, then get the fuck away from me. Then I was able to do that. And that's where I found my own strength again. 20 years, 20 years. That's what
Mhm.
it took.
Do you think that when you found that strength again, you had all, like, overcorrected and, like, didn't and, like, kind of kept people out?
Hmm. Did I overcorrect? I don't know. Did I?
Well, I just the where my question's coming from is
Good.
because the image that I had in my head when, like, you were saying that, like, not only could you fight, you could tell all the other powers around you to get the fuck out. Like, if you're not being helpful, go away. And the image I have in my head is, like, it was just me and you in the house. Dad what didn't live with us, and, like, was it like, going back to the beginning of this conversation of, like, the people were always leaving and what that may have done to me. Did you in any way, like, overcorrect to the point where, like, this was your fortress and everyone who passes through here is transient? No one is here permanently besides us?
No. I'll tell you why. There was still the lingering of my not having a voice.
Mhm.
It still existed. I insisted that we have a housekeeper. Why? I was going to leave your father after you were born. It was a horrible pregnancy. We hated each other. I told you we had this thing with the therapist and all of
Mhm.
that. It was just contentious. There was nothing that bound us together except and our children ended up being our battleground. But I was going to leave and you were going to be with me all week. In the typical ritual, you were going to go to your father for the weekends. And I said, you don't know how to feed her. You refused to feed her. He was a fabulous diaper changer. Nobody could change his diaper better than him except me. All right. He was great at it. But he wouldn't feed you. He wouldn't put you to sleep on time. He wouldn't take care of the other pieces of being the parent to a small child. So I said to him, it is imperative that we get a housekeeper for up in because that's where he would go every weekend to the country. So we need a housekeeper in the country so that when you take her and go to the country, somebody else is there to help with the baby. And I'll take care of her during the week. So the two of us hired Karen, and she came with her daughter, who was 11 years old, and it seemed like a perfect situation. Shortly after, we were still going up on weekends. I didn't leave him. We were going up together, and it wasn't working out so well. It wasn't working out. And eventually, but we gave it a good shot. We kept it going because this woman had no other place to go except our house. She moved into an apartment in our house. And so I wasn't going to throw her out, but I wasn't happy. Eventually, you and I moved up full time when you were 3 years old. Dad was doing half a week up, half a week down, or more. What was happening was when I was home with you alone, things were not okay. They were simply not okay. Dad would come up for the weekend, and if Karen ever hears this, she may have a different viewpoint. But Dad would come up and, Larry, what can I do for you? Can I give you this? Can I do this? He loved her. She
Mhm.
was all over him with goodness and light and beauty. When he left, she wouldn't take instruction from me. She went counter to me. She made things harder for me. And I would say to Dad, I got to get rid of her. It's long enough. She's been here for a couple of years, 3 years, whatever it was. I said, it's not okay. I'm not okay in this situation. And he absolutely refused to even consider getting her out. She's terrific. I said, yeah, to you, but she's not with me during the week. Again, I became invisible. My voice meant nothing. What I needed meant nothing. It was happening all over again until Dad needed her to do something and she refused. Within a day, it was get her out of here.
But
All right.
she didn't move out until I was like 6 or 7.
Yes, that's how long I was unhappy. And that's part of that is why, everybody knows that I live in the house next door to Dad. It took years and more of that kind of behavior for me to say I'm out of here, and why I cannot, as much as Dad wants me to, as much as we're together, as much as our marriage is really, really solid and good now, I cannot move back into that house. That house, for 90% of the time that I was in that house, I was not okay.
What
I
if we
feel it.
just sage it?
Not enough. I will not. I refuse. And this piece of me now is I refuse to go backwards. So I'm in a place now where if it's something I need or want, I make my needs and my wants very clear, very clear. And if I can't get it in conjunction with your dad, I will find a way to get it for myself if it's that important. And what I find is he now understands if it's that important to me, he's got to very seriously consider it. And for the most part, come along with me. But I do that for him too. Now it's much more of a partnership. We hear each other, we see each other, we care about each other much more equally than we had for most of our marriage.
Right. It's interesting too because I wonder if like at the start of your marriage, like you're saying like now like there's care and equal like listening, equal respect, which implies that there was a time where it was unequal care. But I also am kind of wondering, like, even in that time when the care wasn't equal, was the care even genuine from your side, or was this just obligation because I'm married and not actually care for him?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
There was too much resentment to really care.
Right.
But what also made a difference is watching his daughters grow up, watching Mara have a baby, and how hard life was at the beginning, how difficult it is with a small baby, how your life is not yours. When I gave birth to Mara, it was like, what do you do all day? She
Right.
sleeps, she eats. What do you do? Why isn't the laundry done? When he saw Mara being a mom and somewhat overwhelmed by a baby who kept vomiting, his whole way of looking at womanhood changed. But it took him a long time to then shift that over to me.
Right.
His mom was totally incompetent, unfortunately. And that's what he knew. And he said to me once, very, very long time ago, when Mara and David were very young, we went out to lunch because we had to have a talk about what the hell is this marriage? Do we stay in it or not? And I said to him, you don't give me credit for what I do. I'm raising 2 children. I'm working. I'm doing. And he said straight out to me, you're a woman. You cannot be competent. He said it in those exact, I am quoting, but it took him to see his first daughter be a mom and see how hard it is for his brain to start shifting a little. It took him to see you, his daughter, being so amazingly strong, flying off to Australia, flying off to Thailand, Ireland, having a very strong, independent life that helped him change how he looks at women. It was his daughters that made a difference. When he would mimic his dad and speak to his mom really disrespectfully. It was awful the way he would speak to her, which mimicked how his dad spoke to her. And I worked on him about his mom. This is your mother. How do you talk to her like that? In the hopes that if I could get him to be more respectful of his mother, that would translate to how he dealt with me. It didn't work. But he did get more respectful toward his mother. He started speaking nicer to her. He stopped being so curt and short and dismissive. He started giving her some more due as his mom. But it did not translate to how he dealt with me for many, many, many more years. And we're talking about gender equality. It didn't exist in either of our families, and it played itself out in our marriage. Lucky for me, I had two strong girls.
Well, yeah, it's interesting kind of like, you were saying that you learned how to be strong because you learned how to fight with your mom. But you lost your voice as our mom, like during that time. So like, how did we learn it?
Even though I was not modeling it, I was always pushing it.
And we learned it, I think, maybe in a better way than you did, because you learned it out of survival necessity rather than like.
Well, Mara learned it, I think, because her dad gave her uncomplicated love. She was totally, supported or whatever by this male figure, her dad. She was just simply loved. She didn't have to figure out how to get loved. She got it.
Right.
I think that was harder for you.
To take it full circle, because I was abandoned and everyone kept leaving.
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, I'm about to abandon you because I'm so hungry and I need to go feed myself.
Thank God abandonment is not my issue.
All right. Only invisibility. But I
And
see you.
if you click the thing, I'll become invisible.
Never. Your voice exists in my head always.
Okay. On that note, one more thing I'll say and then we can hang up. Years and years and years ago, my brother in Israel, we were speaking on the phone, and he said he was listening to a radio broadcast where a man who had been in a coma for years, but his wife would sit by his bedside and talk to him every day, talk to him every day, talk to him every day. And eventually, when he woke up, they asked him, "So what brought you?" He said, "My wife's voice. I followed her voice until I could come back. Her voice pulled me out." So my brother said to me, I was thinking, whose voice would penetrate my brain and pull me out of a coma? And he said, it would be your voice.
Well, that's a wonderful compliment.
Well, with
Or
that, either
not a compliment.
or not.
Yeah.
Either or. But we laughed about it. So I miss my brother, but he's gone forever. And now I miss my sister, but she's just in Maine. So we will be good. I love you. We'll talk later.
Okay. Love you.
Love you, babe. Bye.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Shain.
And this has been Listen to My Mother.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a positive review and subscribing to us on your favorite platform.
And if you'd like the chance to listen to my mother, head to the link in our show notes, which is currently bit.ly/listen-to-my-submission. That's bit.ly/listen-to-my-submission and submit your question.
No question is off limits.
And don't forget to follow our journey on Instagram at Listen to My Mother or at whatsthepoint.therapy.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, baby.